about 20 to 25 minutes. We want to try to get everybody, senators and students, to lunch by 12:45.
I'm gonna put my name on it.
So what, would it make sense for you to come up here more?
Well, they're gonna walk right to the podium.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, okay. I didn't notice the podium there. Okay. Are we ready to go? I guess
Yeah, we're live.
ready to go
We're
live.
live.
Are we live? We
We're
are.
live.
Okay, we're live. Okay, we're back. So, this is an opportunity for us to interact with some teachers. One of the things we want to do at each of these visits. And so the theme for this visit, for all these visits, has really been what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, and what are schools doing to provide excellent educational opportunity for every Vermont child, for every kid. And we did hear, especially from the students, about the way that there's a real effort to have nobody fall through the cracks. That's one thing that we heard for sure. And so as we talked setting this up, I wanted to make sure we hit a few things on this score, but people on the panel might want to ask different questions too, and that's totally fine. But let's just start with, I guess I wondered what these were for earlier when I saw these, so I'm just going to draw one here randomly. What happens in your classroom, department, or program that provides excellent education? How are you doing? What are you doing? And the first person is Lori Ann. So we'll come up to the podium and just talk about who you are, what you teach, and how you're really providing that for every kid.
Hi, being here today. My name is Laurie Smith. I'm the social emotional learning specialist in middle school. So excellence in the SEL lane looks a little bit different than academics, right? So when I think about excellence, I think of, are our students feeling connected? Are they feeling supported? Are they feeling safe? Do they feel like they belong? And do they have joy? So I brought a few artifacts from our middle school to show where belonging, connection, and joy are happening. We have a club program that's happening right this minute. And in our club program, middle schoolers select from, like 15 different fun, engaging things to do. And they all get their first or second choice of their club. So some of the things that are going on 3 days a week at this time period, we have kids playing outside. We have, this is like a major coup, but a student loaned me his Dungeons and Dragons book with his characters and his notes in it. And it's precious and I need to give it back in a couple minutes. We have a middle school yearbook club happening right now. We have a jazz band for our musicians above and beyond the regular band class that middle schoolers can take. We have board games. We have a book club and about a half a dozen other activities for our middle schoolers. So this is a time where our students have choice. This is a time where they have fun. We have a school spirit group that is in charge of our spirit week that's happening right now. So it's about choice, it's about connection, and it's about making sure that our students feel like they belong here and it's really their school and that they can have some fun, not just in a regular classroom, but in these other times of day as well. So that is what excellence looks like in the SEL lane in our middle school.
And does that include after school?
That is, so in the middle school, because students are always supervised, we have a time after we eat lunch where students are either in our advisory program or in our club program. So that is primarily, and for students who come a great distance for school, sometimes after school clubs can be more of a barrier. So that's why we offer all kinds of options during the day. We also switch it up every couple months or so that students have the opportunity to try something that they haven't tried before.
And this is an everyday occurrence?
We have clubs 3 days a week.
Okay.
And we have a middle school advisory program every morning and 2 days a week for a longer time. And that is also about connection and belonging and joy and building our social emotional skills.
Yeah,
I'm just curious, what's the format here? Like, when can we,
go ahead. We have 20 minutes, or 20 or 25 minutes, few questions. We want to make sure we get to everybody, but ask a question.
okay, so a pretty fundamental question. So you're graduating roughly 75 in a class, maybe 80 in a class on a routine basis. In Rutland County, we have 7 high schools and we have several which are graduating 20-ish each year. How would the opportunities change here at Woodstock if your graduating class was 20? And would you recommend that as a change, or do you see a different, I guess, future, if, balance between 75 and 20?
Well, personally, my focus is more in the middle school, and I can speak to the benefit of bringing our students together. And we find as 7th graders, hit that age where social life is king, right? They're so grateful to have the opportunity to build more connections. Last week we had student-led conferences for 7th graders, and as I sat with different students and their families, because of my particular role, the question that I had for kids are you happy in middle school? And student after student after student said, I'm so glad that I've made new friends here. And we know that there are lots of wonderful things that kids experience when they're in a grade, in a 3rd grade of 7 students. But by the time they hit that age where they're really seeking social connection, like as their primary, driving force, to have the opportunity right now, I think we have in the high 50s of our 7th grade and 8th grade students. And that brings so much to those students in terms of their developmental needs. So from my lens as a social emotional learning specialist with SEL really as my focus, I think the opportunity to move beyond a kind of a micro social group to have more friends is something that really makes a difference in the lives of our students. And we see it literally every day in our middle school as we bring in kids from the different elementary schools.
Thank you. Okay, why don't we do one more on that question?
Keep pulling your sticks.
Keep pulling my sticks out. So the question about what are you doing in your classroom to provide that excellence for all kids? And it's Lori Smith this time.
That was.
How did that? Okay. That was supposed to be Lori Ann. I'm sorry. So this time we'll go to Lori Ann.
So you can.
Different one. Okay.
We've had to rotate.
Okay.
Running race.
Sarah Allen.
Thanks again for having us. My name is Sarah Allen. I am the chair of the Modern and Classical Languages Department, and I also have my foot in the English department as a literacy support teacher. I think the school does a ton to meet our kids where they are and to push them to grow. From the language side of things, we have a wonderful department here. We have Spanish, French, and Latin. I'm also a Latin teacher. And our program begins in the 7th grade, if not even before, in our elementary schools. And we have wonderful study abroad opportunities for students. Some have gone for full semesters. Others have gone for a week or more as a large group. We have connections to other schools in other countries where we have an exchange program. And so being able to give students the opportunity to see and connect with people from other cultures and to broaden their horizon and understand more broadly what the lives of other people in other parts of the world is like. It's been super important, I think, for our students. And then they come back and they talk about that experience and they share with their friends what they learned. From the literacy side of things, I know that is a big thing that everyone's looking at, data and literacy and reading skills in the educational world. And we are doing a great job of making sure that even students who have struggles are being supported, are being successful. So I work with some students who need some extra help. I know my other literacy specialist colleagues, do amazing work with students with even greater needs to make sure that they can access the curriculum. We have multiple blocks in the day, which allow for students to be able to take electives and also get extra help with their literacy needs or math needs as appropriate. I don't know how many people will be able to speak, so I'm just sort of looking at like who's here. We have amazing projects and field trips throughout our disciplines. We have the craft program, which really emphasizes stewardship and thinking about the environment. So we have all of these different sort of subcategories within our school that allow students to find what they're passionate about and dig in further. We have many APs here that allow students to really push themselves. We have an amazing theater and arts program. And so I think you've heard of some of these things from students as well. We have an amazing flexible pathways program that allows students to really find what they're interested in. We have a team structure at the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. So where students need that extra support and extra activities perhaps within their grade levels. There's really impressive work being done among staff to make sure that there are enriching opportunities and connection building and community building opportunities that get students out into our community. We have a pollinator row. People have worked on community service at various points throughout the year. So I have just been really impressed with the creative ideas that our staff have had and the way that we make sure that we are not forgetting any student or overlooking any student. There's been many times throughout the years where we've done surveys of students like, do you have a connection with a faculty member? And overwhelmingly students do and feel like they are really a part of this community. So I think one of the big keywords is, we are creating community. We are interested in our students as individuals. We are recognizing where there are weaknesses and finding ways to support them. And we are providing tons of ways for students to dive into their interests.
What are, you mentioned among other, thank you. You mentioned
I know
a lot of things. One of them was that, like the ability for a student to go spend a semester abroad. How do you reach underprivileged kids and let them know that's for you too?
I think within all of our classes, once you get a student in a language, once they are a part of that community, one of the wonderful things about foreign language classes is that you're talking about yourselves, you're building your vocabulary, you're connecting with your peers, you're forced to read and write and talk. And so while you're building literacy skills in the other language, you're also building English literacy skills. And so we get to know those students, and I think we are communicating that like, this is an opportunity for anybody, and that you're going to be living with a family. We have lots of grants within the community to help support students. And so there are a lot of ways that this should be available to any student.
Yeah.
If I can ask a quick question. So this high school was built what year? 50s, okay. And has there been a change in student population? Like, was it a high school only at one time, or was it?
No, it's always been 712, but we did
Okay.
have, I think, up to 750 students in this building at one point in time. That was the late 90s.
Okay,
And
that
so-
would be a graduating class of 150,
Would be 125, I think, is the biggest one.
125. Okay, so I just want to, I'm not going to ask a question, but I'm just going to add an observation. Everything you described about the graduating class of 75, Proctor High School was identical 50 years ago. Okay, state demographics of student populations dropping. Now they're graduating 20 and they don't have those programs. And if they want them, they go to Rutland to get them, as far as like AP classes and what have you. Just an observation.
I'm going to throw this in as a personal thing. I was a graduate of tiny West Rutland High School.
Ah, there you go.
And I know it's complex and education is expensive, but I did get a great education there and had a lot of wonderful opportunities and studied in Mexico for a week at the time. And so
Good.
I know we offer a lot and we do a lot, but so do small schools.
So one of the reasons,
Should I go?
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the reasons we wanted to come to Woodstock in particular was to hear about the nexus or the connection between, frankly, inadequate building or infrastructure issues and the ability to deliver education. So let's jump ahead to that one and make sure we don't lose that opportunity. So Next up is Tom Emery.
I know what the process is, but I guess I'm going over there.
Yeah. We heard a little bit from the students about a little bit of inadequacy of space, but I know you've been trying to pass a bond. So talk to us about that connection, the way in which you're being held back from what you could otherwise do for kids because of your building, assuming that's true.
Sure. You haven't walked around the building yet,
No, I
right?
haven't done that yet.
You'll see it pretty easily, whether you're walking in the hallways and our retrofitted heating system that's in, and we're always, it seems like, one flush away from our septic system going apart, our heating system from breaking down. It's, ancient. I'll give a pretty concrete example from one of our most vulnerable populations. We have a classroom for learning impaired students, community classroom. Last year, the heat went out in it, just kind of in the middle of the day, all of a sudden water's flowing on the ground. And so this classroom had to move for 8 weeks, a group that doesn't deal with change very well. And we didn't have another space for them. We moved them to a space that was formerly we had a program that addressed culinary arts, not like an established culinary arts program like over at Hartford, but the teacher had worked here for a more traditional home economics program. This is 15, 20 years ago. And that space is now used for meetings. As a small kitchen in there, I think a washer and dryer, but it was an adequate space to take that classroom into it, right? And so, we had to deal with that flexibility with the population that was, as I said, doesn't handle change very well. And it wasn't easy to move them in there and build a structure and support for them that they experience, where they had individual cubbies and spaces. They had a kitchenette that was separate from their classroom. The room 18, this room that they moved to, was a big open space. And you can't just put up dividers, for this group to handle very easily and create your open space. That's one of the easiest ones in my position that I can say too. But also I'm also, I told you that I am a parent of 3 graduates and a senior this year. I coached as an assistant with the football team, and both of our locker rooms are pretty atrocious, looking at it. I mean, if I were a student here, I wouldn't shower in the locker room because it, just looks horrible, not to mention ceiling tiles that are constantly falling down because of roof problems that the Buildings and Grounds goes to amazing efforts, to, try and keep it from leaking, and that's just, again, you can walk around and go into individual classrooms that we don't have control over heating. You walk into one classroom this morning and it's 85 degrees, not a great learning environment to be sitting in. You go into the next classroom and it's 60 degrees, so that, kids are walking around with their coats because one class they need it and then the next class they're taking it off. And that's, we can continue on with a whole lot of other stuff, technology. The tech department does a great job to access Wi-Fi throughout the whole building. But, given our limited, how old the building is and where you can go with wires and stuff like that, there's a whole lot of spaces that you don't have a consistent access to Wi-Fi.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. That was helpful. Does anybody else who hasn't spoken yet,
Supposed to draw a name.
I know, but just in case somebody really wants to, how it's directly affecting kids' education in a way that we might not have heard.
I'm going to jump in. I think the staff does an incredible job in spite of the building. So they make it so it's not something that may affect the kids every day because they're able to work around it.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Whoops, one of you. Yeah.
Can I
Good.
speak for a moment?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. My name is Erin Harahan. I teach middle school English and journalism. We run a student newspaper here. And I just sitting here and hearing about our building, I think about this juxtaposition because our middle school just recently had like a pretty cool accolade. We earned the distinction of being an family school of distinction, and we got to go out and accept that award. And I'm struck by how, like, the heroic efforts of our buildings and grounds team and our teachers, in spite of the building, a couple years ago, we made a decision to become more of a middle school. And we know that according to AMLE's characteristics of strong middle schools have exploratory curriculum and they're integrative and they're challenging. And all the teachers gave up their own time over the summer to trade classrooms to create one hallway within our school. That was a huge lift at the time. I had a classroom library that was like literally a huge lift. But we all did it. And now we have this middle school wing. And yeah, sometimes the bathroom floods. And yeah, the PA system doesn't work at all. And that makes me nervous in terms of like safety. And yeah, sometimes the locks on the doors aren't working properly. But every Friday, my students in journalism publish our student newspaper, and they get to stand at the end of the hallway and hand them out to kids on their way to lunch because we have this little community in our building. And I feel like that's just one small example, but in this building, everybody is making these big sacrifices and these big lifts to keep doing great things despite what are like disadvantageous spaces. My colleague Laurie Smith, who spoke about our advisory program, that's an area. Actually, at the AMLE conference, we earned the superlative of being the school most likely to rock the SEL curriculum, which was really cool. She does an amazing job, but we know it would be great to have the opportunity to have the whole 7th grade team come together and do team building, and the whole 8th grade team to do team building. And we worked really hard a few years ago to get a grant to go take a retreat at the end of 8th grade and camp out at Bethany Birch's camp, a local camp. And the 7th grade starts their year with a camping trip. We have to leave campus to do those things, which is cool in its own right. But I just think it's really important, what Charlie Kimball said, like we are working really hard to overcome some of the obstacles in the building.
Can we maybe reverse the question a little bit and talk about what you might be able to do differently with facility you would really like to have?
Yeah. But might not know. I think that team meetings every Friday, which we have intermittently done in the middle school, but only the 7th grade or the 8th grade can do it at one time right now in the gym, because that's our only space that's big enough. So if we had classrooms that, you know, could connect, or a space like that, we could meet, it would really help facilitate cross-curricular projects. It would help facilitate community connections. In the 8th grade, our students take a class called Explore Your Future, where they investigate careers that they're interested in that helps feed into some of the pathways they have access to in high school. We know that's really important. We take trips to the Hartford Career and Technical Center to help give them a preview of what they have access to in high school. And those things, if we had a space where we could meet as a class, would just be stronger. I think those are like probably on a daily basis the number one thing that wouldn't be as much of an issue. But I even think about our sports teams and our fields and the way that they share and have to take turns. Those are just my observations.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not even a coach.
Thank you.
We have 1 minute and then we have to get to lunch.
Okay, I saw one other hand up on that question.
I'm Steven Stutz. I'm the MTSS coordinator. And I wanted to share, I might pass these around. Maybe you can even look at them at lunch, because these are some of our test scores over it. I know you saw some 10th grade test scores, but how they improve over time. And you heard about some of our literacy initiative across the building. I know you're not that, but a few of the, so yeah, we're really committed to students, and maybe you even heard it, reading, writing, and speaking in every class across the curriculum. So we're trying to provide all those opportunities. But the building deficiencies, we have a lot of interventionists. It would be nice to have pods by grade and have the interventionists in those pods. We've seen schools where that's very effective. So not pulled out to go way down the hall or something, but intervention happens right there, where there's collaborative spaces around cross-curricular things. Because we know this science tells us that's where you get great improvements. Our world's cross-curricular. It's not by discipline. The deficiencies, you heard about the bathroom. Kids, can I go to the bathroom? Well, now it means going way down the hall. Can I get a drink of water? Water, which one's working? Don't know. sewage has backed up into our cafeteria. And anytime they have to make repairs, it's like a jackhammer. These are, you'll see, cement floors. So that's quite disruptive. People are downplaying, but the more you think about it, these are things we put up with, water dripping into classrooms. Whole 6 classrooms had no heat for a couple of days. I hardly know how to dress. I'm being serious because I have no heat in my office, but I'm in classrooms. So that's an issue. Other things, this is a hard to secure building, and we have to think about it these days. It was built for a very, very different time. The collaborative workspaces, the grade level teams, the innovation spaces, the cafeteria is incredibly loud. You're gonna miss that, I think, because
No,
kids
the
will-
dog, be down there.
right there. Okay, the Wi-Fi. My poor colleague, the music teacher, his space is under the gym. Not only is it too loud, but it's under the middle school gym. So you hear that, and we could go on, but the more you think about it, education has changed so much. And the collaborative work that we're all doing would be much easier in a different space. But it's really also the heroic efforts, really, day to day. Is the heat on? Is the bathroom open? Is the water running? These are the big, and my friend Tom, my colleague, he wasn't joking. We really are. When you see the truck out at the system, it's like, oh man, are we not gonna have water or school today? So those are a couple of things. Thank you very
That's
much.
all very helpful. I think we have to stop, right?
Yeah.
So, and thank you all these teachers thought they were talking earlier and they rescheduled and they hung in for us. So thank you all. And again, have opportunities to connect. So the senators now have an opportunity to go to middle school lunch with the students. So you'll each be paired with a student and then we'll be attending a class with that student before we do the building tour.
Can we leave our things here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Back live at what time?
Are we coming back here? We're not coming back here, right?
We're not going to come back here. We'll be back live in the auditorium at
2:30 for a 2:30 start.
2:30, okay.
So I can show you where that center is. I have a bunch of students that are